That's the slide we just went over. 739, as I indicated, is our end. As you see, 262, that was in December. That's going back to 2018. As you can see, our numbers are coming up to pre-COVID years. Next slide, please. So when we look at our theft numbers right here, you had BMVs, shoplifting, residential, commercial, and auto parts. The BMVs stayed pretty modestly low this year for us, which is good. They are trending up already in January. But the one thing I want to emphasize on burglary, BMV stands for burglary of a motor vehicle. That's when somebody breaks into your car. One thing that I want to emphasize that we are seeing an increase in that we can prevent, and it's dangerous to all of us, is lock your guns up. The criminals are going after guns and vehicles and putting it in a locked glove box. A locked center console does not work. So please lock your guns up. This last week, we had some more BMVs and guns were stolen out of vehicles. The commercial thefts were at 12%. The auto parts, I talked a little bit about 16%. Again, the things that we're seeing with the auto parts, all of you are aware of this because we preach to y'all, we educate y'all when we let everyone know, was the catalytic converters. We did see a little uptick in tailgate thefts. I think that's because of the market, the way it is with the new and used vehicles. That's why we're seeing those. And we saw a little bit of rims and tires. That's really 10 and 15 years ago, we used to see that stuff, but now it seems to be trending back. And that's the shortage with the vehicles. That's at least what we're contributing to. Our shoplifting, you see, is always going to be higher. That's because most of the stores in Sugarland were open and we didn't, and those numbers are going back to pre-COVID numbers. So we did increase to 340 from 307 in 2020. Next slide, please. If you notice throughout the quarters, these numbers will fluctuate and they will actually change. They'll bounce around from subdivision to commercial areas. The Texas garage in this last quarter by far was the highest at 16. Those were over a course of several days. Settlers Park, Clements Crossing, Churrasco's, Sugar Creek, Longhorn, and Memorial Park, Palm Springs. They do fluctuate. If you go back from some of my notes from the last quarter, these areas were not on there. Just like this next quarter, we had over 25 burglary of a motor vehicle at AMC Theater in one night within a 10-minute window. So you're going to see that slide the next quarter. So these do change, these do move. And when we see these numbers change and when we anticipate crime moving away, we actually go out and we try to tackle it as best we can. Next slide, please. These numbers right here, you look at the percentages, okay, decreased from 12 to 13 in 2020. I think the thing that's the most, that puts a lot of fear in a lot of us are residential burglaries. As you can tell, the residential burglaries are at 75%, but in the big picture, we had 9. We had 1 attached garage. That means a garage is attached to the house. We had 1, and then in our apartments, we had 2. So our overall big number schemes are significantly down, even to pre-COVID years. And I know a lot of this is contributed to homeowners being at home, working from home, homeowners looking out for each other, the next door apps that people are talking and giving valuable information on that, and also the Ring cameras and other security measures that were taking place. So let's continue to work on that and let's keep these numbers down really, really low. Next slide. So the robberies, as you can see, there was no change in the robberies, but so out of the 3 of them, they are classified as a robbery because force was used, was the aggravated shoplifting at City Gears, CBS, and Randall's. They are classified because force was used, but I did put those in there for you can see them. The Laser Zone parking lot, that was where a man was followed from Houston, pulled in, and was robbed. The other one was a park robbery at Covington West Park. That's where a young man was approached by 2 19-year-olds, 19 to 21-year-olds, and he was hit, and his iPods were stolen from there. When we dropped down, we had the 2 driveway robberies off of Summerhill. That was a bank jugging. What I mean by bank jugging is the suspects are sitting in the bank. They're watching you take your money out, watching you mess with your envelope while you walk to your car, and then they follow you. Sometimes they use force. Sometimes they just simply break into your car. On this particular incident, they follow the person home. The next one was in River Park. This is the one that we did put on our Facebook post. This is where a young man was selling a computer online. Some males showed up and an altercation occurred, and the homeowner or the male selling the computer actually shot one of the people that we were believed involved, because later that night we responded to a hospital of a shooting. And of course, that suspect denies being involved in anything. But so that case is still going on. But that was just, and I bring that one up with a little bit of emphasis to let you know when you do sell stuff, you can actually sell stuff at our front of our parking lot. We do have a sign dedicated for that area as well. So just be cognizant of that one. Next slide, please. Year-end trends, a lot of these y'all are aware of. Catalytic converter. Mail thefts are getting a lot of attention throughout the city of Sugarland. They're not isolated to certain areas of Sugarland, but they tend to go in clusters, meaning we'll have a suspect come in, they'll go to the mailbox clusters, they'll use a master key, and they'll take mail. That's causing a lot of concern. We are approaching that with the postal inspector and the postmaster to try to combat that issue. But again, if it's a valuable package, let's take some precautions. That way we can get these packages safely to you. I do want to emphasize that the postal police are helping us. We are working with them diligently, and we're trying to combat those numbers as well. But just remember, just because your mailbox was open, that mail can also be stolen at the post office as well. And that's where the postmaster helps us out as well. Assaults, we saw the same number of assaults, mostly family violence again. The mental health calls, we continue to see a slowly increase in mental health calls. And I think that's the state of society. And I think COVID has kind of hurt us a lot in that aspect. So please help us, help yourself with the mental health calls, even to our own employees within the police department. We're paying a lot of attention to mental health issues because it is getting very severe and people are taking their lives. This last week, one of our officers stopped a young lady sitting on the edge of a parking garage that was about to jump. And if you remember, Sugarland lost a good citizen and a pro-police supporter several months ago when he jumped off a garage. So again, please watch that. Frauds, again, that we always put that in there because that is the biggest number of calls per volume. Frauds, protect yourself, educate yourself. Next slide, please. So the last thing I want to tell you for this last quarter of this year is we were very successful this year. We had a lot of citizen input. We had a lot of cast members, volunteers coming back to the police department. We appreciate the HOAs getting out in there. So I close this slide out by saying on behalf of the Sugarland Police Department, thank y'all very much for making us very successful. That's it, Paulina.
All right, I'm going to turn it over. Thank you, Chief. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica to see if she has any questions from the Q&A.
Hello, good morning, guys. I didn't receive any questions from you, but we'll give you a few minutes to go ahead and type those into the Q&A box. Again, if you hover over the bottom and you see that Q&A bubble, you click that and then you type in your question. I'd be happy to get that answered for you. While I wait on some questions to come in, I just wanted to acknowledge a few council members who are on the call. We have Council Member William Ferguson, Council Member Suzanne Watley, Council Member Jennifer Lane, thank you all for joining us. I see Councilmember Nishad Karmali. All right. Well, looks like PD covered their section pretty thoroughly. So I'll go ahead and we can move on.
Thank you, Jessica. Paulina.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So we're moving right along. Next we have Thomas Harris, our Assistant Secretary. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, City Secretary. I'm sorry. City Secretary Thomas Harris. Thomas, do I have you on?
Hey, Paulina, this is Justin. I'm sorry. I'm going through our attendees at the moment and panelists, and I'm not able to verify at the moment that Thomas has been able to make it.
Okay, maybe we can come back to Thomas. I know we are running a little bit ahead of time, which is probably why we don't have him still. Let me see.
Paulina, while you're looking for Thomas, we did get a question from Ms. Freeman. She was asking, will all these meeting slides be posted online later? That's a great question, and we will be sending the PowerPoints to all the to our HOA listserv, as well as sending the link to the recording so that you can see the conversation that was around these slides as well.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, I'm trying to locate Thomas. Let me see.
While we wait, Jorge, would you be available to go early? I see Jorge's online.
Hey, Jessica, we have Thomas here.
Okay, great.
Just in time. Perfect. Thomas, just let me know when you're on, and I'll be ready to handle the slides for you.
Let's see. Hey, Paulina, he's gonna present from my computer.
Perfect.
Can y'all hear us?
Again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're good. We're good.
That's good.
We're moving along. Yeah. We're
All
ahead.
right, y'all moving fast this morning.
Huh? Yeah. No, I'm sorry to
This
later
moving
call
real fast for a wet Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's go to the next slide then. Good morning, everybody. We are, my name is Thomas. I'm the city secretary, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the May 7th, 2020 general election. Yeah, we're having an election this year. It seems like we're in a nonstop election cycle, but we are having an election this year. And this year on the ballot, we have the mayor, and we have at-large position 1, at-large position 2. The officers that are currently serving in those positions is Mayor Joe Zimmerman, as well as at-large position William Ferguson, Jennifer Lane, and she also serves as our Mayor Pro Tem. Next slide, please. So just some key points I'd like to make about the election this morning, and that is your city elections are nonpartisan. So in Texas, we do not declare a party, nor do we have candidates declare a party affiliation when they file for office. There are a lot of elections this year, so please hang on tight and make sure you don't get election fatigue and go out there and exercise your right to vote. So just so you know, the city elections are separate from a lot of the midterm elections that are going on at the state, county, and even in some of the lid and mud districts throughout the year. So if you have any questions about the election, please make sure any election that you'd like to participate in, please make sure that you contact the jurisdiction that's in charge of that election or the Fort Bend County Elections Office. Next slide, please. So for the City of Sugarland election, for the candidate election that we're having here for all the at-large positions, we are currently in the filing period. What that means is that candidates that want to run for office to have their name printed on the ballot, they can file for office between now and February 18th. And then on February 28th, what we will do in the council chamber is in all of our contested races, we will hold a drawing for a place on the ballot, which basically means the names, the order that the ballots will appear, the order that the names will appear on the ballot. Just kind of as an FYI for the city elections, the last day to register to vote is April 7th, and early voting for the city elections begins on April 25th and ends on May 3rd. Next slide, please. Some other key dates to be aware of is, of course, Election Day, May 7th, is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then after that, we will have what they call the cure period, where basically they review all the ballots that were brought in, whether here locally or any qualified voters in the city elections that may be overseas serving in our military. That will occur between May 7th and May 18th. We will actually canvass our election on May 17th, depending on how many ballots are outstanding, but we will canvass on May 18th. And at that time, per our charter, all of the winning candidates will actually take their oath of office and get their certificate of elected officer. Next slide. That is all I have. I appreciate your time this morning. And are there any questions that I may address?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll give everyone a few minutes to enter their questions. That was a lot of information about elections, which is very exciting. In the meantime, while you guys are trying to type in your questions for Thomas, I will answer another unrelated question. And it was from Ms. Goshen. She says, is it okay to share slides recordings once we get them? And yes, that is definitely allowed, and we love for all people to know, the ins and outs of it. But most of this is for your information in case you do get questions from your residents, and if there's anything that you feel would be valuable to share to your group, please feel free to do so. We have another question for Thomas. Have final polling locations been decided for early and election day?
No, they sure haven't. In fact, that is what the county is feverishly working on this week, is going ahead and getting all those polling locations together. We will actually call our election on February 15th. So when we do that, we will have some tentative polling locations for early voting and election day in that particular notice. So stay tuned.
Okay. I'll allow a few more minutes since we're running ahead of schedule, which is always great. I appreciate everyone being on time and concise. That's super helpful. All right, I think we're good, Thomas.
All righty. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, next up on the agenda, we have an engineering update from senior engineer.
Actually, Paulina, can we hold on 1 second? If Thomas is still around, we did get a question. Does your registration for national elections cover the local ones?
Yes. If you are registered in Fort Bend County, you can participate in the local and the national elections. And another quick point, just so everybody knows, is that Fort Bend County uses what's called super precincts. So any voting location in Fort Bend County, you can vote at, and they will bring up the ballot that you are eligible to vote on.
All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. Okay, Paulina, are we good?
Yes, there was technical questions here, but all good. Yeah. So are we okay with the questions for City Secretary?
Yes, we're all set.
Perfect. All right, Jorge, do I have you on?
Thank you.
Hi, Jorge. Good morning.
Good morning, Paulina. Jessica, good morning, everybody. Yeah, my name is Jorge Alba, Senior Engineering Manager with the City of Sugarland. Next slide, please, Paulina. So, next one. All right, so here we are here this morning to basically give you an update on the major capital improvement projects and the GeoBond package projects too. So the main objective for our meeting is to keep residents engaged and informed during the design and construction phase of the projects. We have virtual meetings like this one, HOA newsletters and submittals. You can check us also on the city website. And the idea is to provide timely notifications during design and construction to all the residents, minimize impact on the residents, and definitely to listen to you. You talk to us and we listen. Next slide, Paulina, please. So a brief summary, some of the GeoBond projects that were completed in 2021 included the flood control improvements or Dam 3 at Oyster Creek, which is just north of Lexington Boulevard at the crossing of Oyster Creek. We also completed the improvements on State Highway 6 between Brook Street and Lexington. You probably saw a lot of the traffic moving around and going around. That project is complete. And we also completed the improvements, the drainage improvements to Settlers Park neighborhood. Next slide, Paulina. So some of the projects I'm going to give you an update today includes 7 of the drainage projects that are included in the FY21 GeoBond package. I'm going to talk about the mobility master plan, and I'm going to mention the projects in the 2013 parts bond projects. Next slide, Paulina. So Sugar Creek drainage improvements at Montclair, we have completed approximately 25% of that project. We finished with the water line replacement. We finished with the concrete storm boxes, the big box culverts that were installed at the intersection of Highland Court and Montclair. And we are going to start right now working on the connection of the service lines, abandoning the old water line and putting concrete at the intersection of Highland Court and Montclair. The neighborhoods in this area, as we reconnect the service lines to the new line, are going to experience some cuts of water, maybe for about 6 to 8 hours. We will let you know ahead of time so you can prepare for that. And in no case, those cuts will last more than 8 hours in any case. But we'll let you know, we'll let the neighbors know before those water cuts happen. We anticipate completion of this project sometime in February 2023. So this project is going to take at least a year before we finish it. Next slide, Paulina. Greywood Village, section 1 and 2, drainage improvements. This is the area of Greywood that experienced flooding during the May 7, 2019 storm event. We started construction back at the end of November of this year. We have completed about 5%. We have already started the replacement of 10 inlets. And we start already working on the stormwater inlet replacement along Alderwood Drive. So next to that, we are going to start working on Millwood Drive, Honeysuckle, Cypress Village, Lauder, Berry Tree, Morningside Drive, and the replacement of 26 more inlets in the area. We'll let the neighbors in these areas know when we start working in front of their homes or in the streets. So you will know ahead of time when we're going to start working in your particular area. We anticipate completion of this project sometime at the end of November of 2022. The construction will go from November 21 to approximately November 22. Next slide, Paulina. So the other project that we have starting to work late 2021 is New Territory Boulevard and Chapman Avenue. The drainage improvements there, we start construction and we have completed approximately 5% of the construction. We have done some of the more complex things in this project, that is to set up a 9x9 junction box close to the outfall and set a 5x7 RCB or reinforced concrete box in front of the elementary school, which that requires some detour at Ravenel Lane on the northbound. So we are dealing with the traffic, the school traffic and all that, but so far it has been going well. Not big issues, even though we have to reroute traffic along the elementary school. we expect to complete the 5x7 RCB in the next month or so, and we are going to start working on the relocation of the gas line, the center point energy gas line. We expect completion of this project sometime in May 2022. So before the summer, we should be done with this project. Next slide, Paulina. Austin Park chimney stone drainage improvements. We have completed 30% of the design. We have a preliminary design ready. We have completed the topographic survey, all the environmental survey required by Texas Water Development Board for this project. We have a final route selection. We completed along the route that we selected. We have the geotechnical and subsurface investigation going on right now. We expect to have design completion on November 2022. This is a very complex project, as you may know, and we anticipate to start construction on this project in early 2023. Will last approximately between January 23 to approximately January 2025. So this is a very complex project. It's going to take some time to finalize it. Next slide, Paulina, please. So the next one is Avalos Brazos landing in Commonwealth. That's basically between University Boulevard and Commonwealth Boulevard along Elkins. We have completed the 60% of the project. Preliminary design is ready. We are doing topographic survey, environmental survey, route selection, and completing the geotechnical subsurface investigation. Similar to the previous project, design will be completed in November 22, and we anticipate construction starting in January 2023. Similar to the previous one, this is a very complex project in the middle of a neighborhood. This one has the issue that we have to construct right around the middle school, so we have to be very conscious about the traffic control in that area. So that's what adds complexity to this project. Next slide, Paulina. Riverbend stormwater and pipeline replacement or stormwater replacement. We completed the 95% of the project. Actually, we are actually expecting to have it done by the end of this month in January, and we will be bidding the project in March 2022. So we expect to initiate construction in this area in April 22, and we anticipate construction by November 22. Next slide, Paulina. So with this, I'm going to talk about the mobility master plan. We have completed 50% of the master plan. Phase one basically is what we completed. That included the setup, the visions and goals, concurrence from City Council. That was completed in fall 2021. And actually last week during City Council approved phase two, which is going to start immediately in January 2022. And we are going to develop strategies, do implementation of the framework. We'll be starting coordination with TxDOT, AGIC, Fort Bend County, and other entities that we may have to coordinate on the mobility plan. We anticipate completion of this plan on early 2023, or this phase of the plan on early 2023. Next slide, Paulina, please. So the next project I'm going to talk is about the public safety and training facility. This is also one of the projects in the FY22 GeoBond projects. We have, basically, this is for the design and the construction of a multi-purpose training facility for our police and fire department that will include classrooms, restroom, fire truck, live fire shots, site improvements. We are working on the design. We are actually starting the design in early FY22. And we expect to complete it by the end of the year and start construction in FY23. So that project also will take about a year to complete. It won't be completed before fiscal year 24. Next slide, Paulina. Okay, so give you an update on the parks bond. Next slide, please. So the first one is the First Colony Trail. We have completed 95% of the design. We have done all the coordination with the Levy District. This trail is inside Levy District number 2. We have done all the coordination with them and getting all the approval necessary. We will be finalizing plans and securing agreements. The construction contract will be coming for approval by City Council next quarter. We don't have really any issues on this project, and we anticipate completion of this trail in FY23. So it will be about a year from now. Next slide, Paulina. The dish age, we are a little bit behind on this project with respect to the previous one. We are only at 50% complete. We are working on a design and all the easements documents. This actually has to go through, have to have easement agreement with lead 17 and lead 2. So it's a little bit more complicated in terms of agreements with other agencies. We should be completing 95% of the design by next quarter. Again, we don't expect any major issues, and we should be starting completion in FY23. Next slide, Paulina. And finally, on parks projects, we just started the design of the Brazos River Park Phase 3. That is in the area of the new road that we built to connect both Memorial Park with the Brazos River Park. This is going to expand the city capacity for group gatherings, some playgrounds and other outdoor activities out there, including some festivals and events like the 4th of July events and other events. So it will give the parks a lot of flexibility. It will include a new pavilion like the one you see in the picture down here in the bottom of the slide, a new playground in the area behind the pavilion. So the pavilion will be in the front with a new playground in the back, and all the related side improvements for this area, including some beautification and nice trees around this area and all that. As I mentioned, we started the design just recently in November 21, and we expect to be completing this by April, May of 2022, bringing the construction contract for city council approval early in June 22, and we expect to have this park and pavilion complete by the end of this year. Next slide, Paulina, please. So with this, I'm going to let Robert Wilson, which is one of our engineers in the engineering department, give us a FEMA outreach update.
Good morning. Unfortunately, my webcam is not working right now, but Paulina, if you could go to the next slide, please. So FEMA Risk Rating 2.0 was announced April 1st of 2021, became effective 6 months later on October 1st of 2021. Rating new policies under their new rating methodology. Those policies began taking effect on April 1st, or begin taking effect on April 1st this year. What is changing is the premiums based on the policy or the property's flood risk, which are now the distance to the flooding source, the elevation relative to the flooding source, the building replacement value, and levied and non-levied protected properties. What is not changing is the risk rating maps, the flood insurance rate maps used. They're still requiring mandatory purchase in the SFHA, and they're limiting the annual policy increase to 18% per year, and they're still giving discounts to policyholders in CRS communities. Sugarland's rating currently is class 7, and we're working to improve that. Next slide, Paulina. So our recommendation from the city is to maintain your flood insurance policy, to grandfather the changes, and to purchase flood insurance even if you are not in the SFHA. With hurricane season coming up, make sure to prepare yourself for the hurricane season. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the engineering department so we can get that answered. Next slide, please.
So with this, if you know, you can follow up on any CIP project in our website, and then on the engineering, on their CIP story map, you can access and check on any project that is going on the city, either in design or construction. The website, when you click on the specific project, will give you all the information about the project, scope of work, schedule, who's the project manager with the city, who do you need to contact to get any information, budgets, and everything you want to know about every single project that the city is having in the CIP story map. Next slide, Paulina. So this is the information. We'll provide you with this information with the presentation. You can sign up for city construction notifications, and it will send you any specific information on any construction site that you want to have notifications about. Again, the city story map is a good source of information on any projects in the city. You can also sign up for traffic in the traffic website for any traffic notifications. And if any question, any doubt that you need, any information, you can email directly to cityengineer@sugarlandtx.gov, and we'll provide you with any information that you may need. Next slide, Paulina. So with this, we are open for any questions that you may have.
All right, so we do have a couple questions, and I'm going to try to read them as my theater teacher taught me, with emphasis, so that it can come across the way the audience intended. Any way to speed up the Commonwealth timelines? Seems like construction done in summer 22 could be better to avoid FSMS disruption. This has been a decades problem, which is a dangerous issue since it floods every time it rains, making it impossible for fire trucks to leave Station 5 beyond the routine traffic hazards.
Correct. Yes, well, two issues here. Well, when we have construction around, especially a middle school or a high school, we definitely have to time the construction most of the time when they are on the summer break. And we do it, we have done it like in Settlers Park, we did exactly the same thing. We time it to do all the major construction around the middle school during the summer break. But also this project requires coordination with Lead 14 because all this area outfall into those lakes that are owned and maintained by Lead 14 and the pump station of Lead 14. So that has been part of the, I would say, difficulties, if you want to put it that way. The coordination with the lead has taken a little bit longer than expected. So that has been putting a little bit of brakes on the project because all coordination has to be done with them and with their full agreement since we are using their right of way to get into the lakes and the pump station. So, but it's moving along. It's a complicated project because of what I mentioned, that it's not only the stormwater system along Elkins and Commonwealth, but also the connection into the Lead 17 pump station. What is the next question?
Sure. Are you planning to conduct sidewalk improvements along the north side of Austin Parkway between Sweetwater and the Ditch Bridge as part of the First Colony Trail?
Okay, sidewalks improvements and maintenance is managed by the Public Works Department. I believe they are scheduled to speak after us, Paulina, is that correct? So
yes, they'll be speaking later.
So that will be a question for them.
Well, Jorge, I'm sorry. The question was tied specifically to the trail project, though, and not to the normal O&M.
Okay, no, the trail project is okay. The trail project, we are only going to basically doing work on the trail itself. We are not doing anything on sidewalks.
All right. Let's see. Will Avalon Brazos Landing project eliminate flooding in the area?
It will eliminate ponding severely. Right now, that area experienced the model for the 100-year storm event experienced more than 1.5 feet or 2 feet of ponding on top of the curve. Is going to reduce it importantly once we finish our portion. I mentioned coordination with Lead 17. Again, this is a combined project between the city and the Levy District. They are also working on improvements to the pump stations. So during a major flood event, when they have to pump water into the river because the Brazos River is high, once they complete their portion and we complete our portion, you will see a major improvements. Until they complete their portion, we only see improvements in the area when we are in the situation of gravity outflow, basically when the lead doesn't have to pump stormwater out into the river. So you will see immediate improvements as long as the river is in the gravity outflow condition.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Again, luckily we're running ahead of schedule, which I highly appreciate. I'm sure everyone in attendance does too. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes to type in any questions you may have for Jorge. Okay, I have a question. Who is paying for and in charge of Lid 14 or is it 17 improvements? Why the delay?
Well, the residents of the lead actually are the ones who, on their taxes pay for that. But the leads are complete separate institutions or agencies from the city. They do not respond to the city. They are established by the state legislature. There is a board of directors that are appointed by the Fort Bend County Commissioners Court, and they are the one who manage basically the pump station and the facilities of the Levy District. So all we do in the city is coordinate these projects with them. We have a very good ambassador program. We have nine separate independent Levy districts in the city of Sugarland that we have to coordinate projects with. But we have a very good relationship with all of them. This is just one more that we have to coordinate the project. They are probably a little bit behind in their schedule because they have to go in a funding cycle, I guess, for this major project, because expanding a pump station is a major project. You know, probably, or you have heard that Lead 2 just finished with the new pump station. It took more than 3 years. They started right after Harvey on working on a new pump stations. It took them about 3 years from the design to completion of that one. Lead 7 is also in the process right now of finalizing design of a new pump station over there. And it's probably going to take them another couple of years for construction. So these projects are very complex. They are not easy. They are very expensive. And the lead is the one who has to lead the effort. The levy district, in this case, is lead 14 for the Avalon area, is the one who has to lead the effort on the improvements on their pump station.
Okay, thank you. And we have another question. Are you working with Lid 14 for flood control?
Correct. Yeah, that's what I was saying, that we are coordinating all these projects inside Lead 14 with them, with the levy district. So we do attend and participate in all the board meetings. We coordinate with them on all the projects. We have constant communication with the levy district engineer on any project that will improve stormwater inside the levy district.
All right, that's all of our questions that we received. Thanks so much, Jorge. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jorge, and thank you, Robert. Now on the agenda, we have next Georgia. Do we have you on, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Georgia is our environmental manager, and she will give us an ENS services update.
Thanks, Paulina. Good morning, everyone. My name is Georgia Tate. Like Paulina mentioned, I am the environmental manager for the city of Sugarland. I'm going to be giving you a brief update this morning on our solid waste task force. Next slide, please. And one more. Perfect. At the last quarterly HOA meeting, we went over this. So for those of you who weren't here, or maybe those that don't remember, this is the planning process that the solid waste task force is going through. Please remember that the solid waste task force is a task force of residents appointed by the city manager. We started by going through the history of solid waste and recycling in Sugarland with the task force, as well as giving them a lot of information on the solid waste industry. They then started to develop the priorities, which we refer to as the guiding principles and objectives of solid waste and recycling for the future. They are reviewing those strategies to achieve different principles and objectives. They have recently developed 2 community surveys. One was the online solid waste town hall, which we will talk about in just a moment. The other was a statistically valid survey that arrived in many residents' mailboxes last week. They are using those surveys to get community input to help them make decisions before they make recommendations to city council. So they are currently in the stage where they are confirming the guiding principles and strategies with the feedback they have received from the residents. And then in March, they are looking to provide service level recommendations to city council. Again, that is just telling city council what the task force thinks are the best service levels for the residents in terms of trash collection, recycling collection, HHW options, anything and everything related to the actual services the residents receive. They are not providing direction on which contractor to use. They are not providing any kind of direction on which area we should move into for those items. Again, they are just telling city council what types of service levels the residents are looking for the next contract, which will be initiated in 2023. Next slide, please. I mentioned before the solid waste online town hall. Our communication staff helped us promote this during October, November, and December of last year. We had a total of nearly 3,500 responses. As you can see by the map, we had quite a few responses in Greywood and New Territory. We also had a pretty good spread of responses in other areas of the city. The Solid Waste Task Force is currently looking at the results from this online town hall, and we will actually be publishing the results on the city website in the next few months. Next slide, please. Just to give you a little bit more insight into where we are and what the next steps are for the task force, they are currently reviewing the results from the solid waste online town hall. Next, they will be reviewing the results from the statistically valid community survey that was sent by mail. And they are also looking at benchmarking data. They are looking at what other cities are offering, what services other cities are offering, what prices other cities are having their residents pay, what programs aren't being offered, to see if there is an opportunity for the city of Sugarland to be one of the first to try out a new program. They will then be developing service level recommendations, which will be presented to City Council in March. And if you would like to receive more information on the solid waste task force, if you would like to receive updates on the different surveys that we have sent out, if you would like to receive updates on the presentation to City Council and the contract processes that the city will be undergoing with council direction over the next year, please sign up for notifications at the link on this slide. And you can get emailed solid waste task force updates as we send them out. That's it for my update, unless anyone has any questions.
Thanks so much for that, Georgia. We don't have any questions at the moment, but I'll give everyone a few minutes to respond and type in their answers. Just to reiterate what Georgia said, we did get a lot of responses from people who filled out the survey with opinions and thoughts about what should happen with solid waste. And we're just really thankful that we have such an engaged, group of people who live here, because they are more than willing to provide their input and help guide us on those things. So we appreciate that. Any questions for Georgia regarding the solid waste task force or how to get more information? All right, I don't see any questions. So we can, Paulina, if you wanted to move on.
Great. Thank you so much, Georgia, for your update.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Bye. All right. Up next, we have Dawn Specs, Animal Services Manager. Dawn, do I have you on?
Yes. Hello.
Perfect. All right. Take it away.
Thank you. Real quick for mine, we just wanted to highlight a new program that we've started here at the animal shelter. It's our foster program. Our foster program gives the community the opportunity to assist with some of the animals in the shelter. Many of them are not ready for adoption yet. So we have fosters who take them home and take care of them for various reasons until they're ready to be adopted as well. It could be anything from a medical issue where they just need medications and they just need to be out of the shelter environment, regrowth of hair. Some just need to be socialized, especially like puppies or kittens or things like that. When we start to see more kittens come in and some more bottle babies, we'll need people to help nurse those as well. And also to give the animals just a break from the shelter, kind of a staycation in a home environment, so they can kind of learn to get used to that whenever they get adopted. You can find a link to our foster program on the sugarlandtx.gov website. You just go to where it says residents, click on lost and found pets, and over to the left, you will see a link that says foster program. You can fill out the foster application online right there, and then we'll receive an email with all of the information. And part of the application is kind of finding out what your interests are in fostering, what you're willing to foster, if you have any animals in your home, any kids, and any information that you have, and then we try to match you with the right animal. And if we don't have any animals available that you're looking for to foster, then we keep you in our registry. When we do get those animals, we'll give you a call as well. Also, another thing that we've added as well on our Facebook page, we invite everyone to like and subscribe on our Facebook page. That is where we will be posting all of our lost animals when they do come into the shelter, and we have them held for a few days, hoping to find their owners. We will be posting those on the same day or the following day with a picture and the location and neighborhood where they were found. That way, for those of you in your community, you can share that post with others in your community, or share the picture, or if you've seen these animals or possibly know the owners, it'll help us reunite them with their owners a lot quicker. And that's all that I have right now.
Okay, Don, I will give everyone a few minutes to type in their questions, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna express my huge disappointment that there was not a puppy on the screen while you were doing your presentation. I feel like that should be required. Like that's where you work and there's dogs all around you.
There is a puppy, but he has been crying this entire time because he's very, very hungry right now.
Oh, poor guy, poor guy.
I usually carry him in a little sling,
Oh.
and then he goes to sleep, and his head just kind of flops out, and he's very passed out. But yes, he's I can hear him now, and he's been wanting to eat. So
Precious.
he would have upstaged me, and I just wouldn't like that right now.
I understand. All right. Well, I don't see any questions for Mr. Specs. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, up next, we have our economic development update, and we have Whitney Williams, our business development associate. Whitney, do I have you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. All right, take it away.
Okay, next slide, please. And next one. Good morning, everybody. Can you go back one slide? Thank you. Oh, there's a slide. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to discuss with you the Sugarland 4B Corporation Joint CIP program for 2022. Okay, next slide now. Sorry about that. Just a few program details. This is a grant reimbursement program that is funded by the Sugarland 4B Corporation. It provides an opportunity for community-based organizations to enhance the community through public improvement projects. And just some previously funded projects include perimeter fencing, landscaping, and public parks. And excitingly, applications open on February 1st, and they will stay open until March 1st, 2022. Next slide, please. And just a few new program updates. This year, there will be an online application through JotForm where you can do everything online, upload your documents, and click submit without having to come here and submit a paper application. But there also will be a paper application option just in case anyone doesn't feel comfortable submitting online, although online version is preferred. Also, this year, there will be a survey required with the perimeter fence application submission. In previous years, we accepted the survey after the project was approved by the board, but this year we're asking for a survey beforehand. And we think that this will help move the fence projects along a little further. In addition, we have ramped up our Joint CIP website with some great updates, lots and lots of great information. You can find a list of required documents that you will need for your project and an FAQ section and pictures of our previously funded projects. So please visit our website for more information. And thank you. I'll take any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about the joint CIP? While we wait for the questions to come in, when do you want to give like a pitch as to why people should participate in this program?
Yeah, sure. So this program is great because it gives our residents a chance to enhance their neighborhoods. And so if you visit our website, you'll see that a lot of our HOAs have taken advantage of this program, have beautiful landscaping at the front of their neighborhoods. They're able to replace like old wooden fences with beautiful brick fences. There's actually a dog park that was funded by this program in the River Park neighborhood. So if you have a project in your neighborhood that you think would enhance it and make it look beautiful and that you want to see, like definitely apply to the program. That's what we're here for. So we would love, and we also would really love HOAs that have not applied before to be able to take advantage of the program as well. So looking forward to all of your applications.
we did just get a question
Okay.
of what are some examples, but you went over a few. Are there any additional ones outside of landscaping and fencing in the dog park?
No, but if you look on the website and you see our the policy, the Joint CIP policy, and the types of projects that we can fund, there are other projects. They just have to be like if it's a park, it has to be open for public use. But Yeah, just use your imagination as long as it is a qualified type of project. We're open to finding different things. So just apply, or you can email us, email the Economic Development Department and ask us if your project qualifies, and I'll be happy to tell you. But yeah, don't think that, you know, yes, and don't think that, you know, oh, will my project qualify or not? Just ask, and sometimes it definitely will. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. We have another question. Is it still capped at 75K with HOA matching?
It is. So the most you can receive is 75K, but it's also up to 50% of the project cost. So if your project is, let's say, like $50,000, then we can pay up to $25,000. So it just depends on the cost of the total project, but we will pay up to $75,000, and it is a matching program.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Devin, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
Nope, just here for any questions that came up. Whitney handled everything. I think there is one more question in the chat, though.
Just came up. Thank you. Is planting of trees included?
Yes, it is. It would be included in any landscaping projects. The only thing with landscaping projects is that they have to be on a major roadway, but if the location qualifies, then yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Whitney, for your update. Up next, we have Brian Butcher, our Director of Public Works, to give us an update on his department. Brian, do I have you on?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
All right, take it away.
You go ahead and go to the next slide. This morning, I'm going to talk specifically about a chloramine conversion that we're planning on doing in March of this year. I came and gave a similar presentation last year for the chloramine conversion in April, you may remember. But so a little background, we have four different water systems in the eyes of the state, even though we operate them all with the same staff. We have this what we call the city main, which is would be Sugarland proper, where the old part of Sugarland. Then we have the Greywood water system, the new territory water system, and the River Park water system. One major difference for the city main is that we blend surface water with the groundwater. That mainly just those are two different sources of water, and the reason we do that surface water blending is tied to subsidence in the area and regulations that require that we use a certain amount of surface water as an alternative to groundwater in an attempt to meet subsidence related requirements. One of the things that happens when you start using surface water is you have to change your disinfection strategy. The disinfection is the way in which we keep anything that could potentially be harmful from growing in the water system. For the city main specifically, we use chloramines, which is different than the other three systems that are on free chlorine. And just to give you a little perspective, the main system was on free chlorine until 2013. We transitioned away when we built the surface water plant. 90% of surface water systems in the state of Texas, any system that uses surface water, they do use chloramines. There's a 10% that don't. It's very, very good at controlling disinfection byproducts. And what that means is when you start to blend surface water into your system, there's certain organics that exist in surface water that don't exist in groundwater. Once you start to see those organics, you can no longer use free chlorine for an extended period of time. You have to switch to chloramines. You can use it momentarily for short periods of time, but it's not a good long-term strategy. Unfortunately, the chloramines do lend themselves to a kind of scientific anomaly called nitrification, which is And it's very complicated, but in essence, it can lead to the reduction in your chlorine residual. Nitrification itself is not dangerous to you, but the reduction in the residual opens the door for things to grow, which means we have to do everything we can to combat the nitrification so that door doesn't open. Go to the next slide. The state of Texas requires us to come up with a plan that says we're going to monitor for nitrification and we're going to react ahead of time to make sure that we don't get in a situation whereby we're having to issue boil water notices and things like that. We in Sugarland have one that is very, very aggressive, meaning we start to react way ahead of where the state minimums are. We've done a lot of things in our plan to, overall maximize or optimize our water quality leaving our facilities. That's the step one, right? Before we would ask, inconvenience anyone, we would want to make sure we're doing everything we can. The water quality leaving those plants is tip top for combating nitrification. We also have a series of O&M things out in the system. We drain tanks. We monitor water quality throughout the system regularly. One of the big ways cities handle this is they flush, meaning you might see hydrants open. We have over 500 hydrants that are required to be flushed monthly by the state because of the way the system is set up. But we also do flushing in response to water quality samples that we pull daily in an attempt to make sure we're controlling nitrification. The final thing you can do in an attempt to make sure that you have everything under control is to do a free chlorine conversion, whereby, like I said, we are on chloramines in the main system, but we go to free, the other three systems are on free chlorine. We can do that for 30 days in an attempt to help combat any potential water quality issues. Go to the next slide. So as a whole, our flushing has been very effective, but it's become a full-time commitment for us. And quite frankly, we get a lot of calls, complaints, people talking about wasting water and concerned about, the optics of it, just saying, hey, if y'all are flushing, is there something wrong with our water? Even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with the water, it's all part of our maintenance strategy. TCQ does recommend that you do a free chlorine conversion at least every 5 years. Roughly 75% of the systems who have chloramines use free chlorine, and almost all of those 75% do it annually. We did one last year in April. We did one for the city for the month of April. Go to the next slide. So and this kind of gets into the details of it, but it essentially, chloramines is a mixture of free chlorine and ammonia, and we'll take the ammonia out of the process. We'll lower the residual as a whole, and everything will go back to basically the way it was in 2013 before we started using surface water. It does change the taste and odor of the water a bit, and it's important because while if you live in Greywood, New Territory, or River Park, you're used to it and you get very familiar with the taste and the smell of the water, and if you live in the main system, you get very used to it. It's not changing it, making it any worse, any better, anything. It just is different. And people key in on the difference, and people make comments about the difference. And the reality is this difference is deliberate. We're doing it as part of a strategy to help make sure we're providing the best possible water to all of our systems. Next slide. So we are planning to do one from March 1st to March 28th of this year. Last year's conversion was extremely successful. We really saw positive results in the system following last year's. We have had to start flushing a little more regularly, though, as we've gotten back into, got through last summer and have gotten back in, and we had a really wet year. But we are starting to see that increase in flushing. I do want to point people, we do have a website. I put FAQs on here. The website has a lot of good stuff about what it is. We've got videos that explain it. We've got a heat map that shows, as we start to transition on March 1st, you'll see we put up in real time because it takes a few days for the full transition. You can follow along with that. So anybody who's got any questions about it, I will also say last year, during that month, we only received 34 calls. we get over 100 a day. So we only received 34 calls in that month. 22 of them came in the first 48 hours, and that we're primarily around. We have to flush really hard to draw that water through. So you'll see, starting on March 1st, we'll have 8-10 crews out opening hydrants and moving water around to deliberately kind of control where the water moves. You'll see a lot of that. You go to the next slide. So with that, just come March 1st, similar to what you had last April, you might see you will see a change in your taste and odor if you're in the main system. If you're in Greywood, New Territory, River Park, this will not impact you in any way. I'll take any questions.
Yeah. Thanks so much for that, Brian. I really appreciate you taking something very complicated and making it sound interesting, which is not.
Yeah, I'd love to get into the science of why nitrification happens, but unfortunately, I don't think anyone else cares.
Well, you and me can talk offline about it. I love it. All right, we do have a couple of great questions. One is, does Sugarland add fluoride? Why or why not?
So we do fluoridate our system. Fluoride is, and if you look through the literature, the FDA touts it as one of the top 10 advancements in medical health for societies in the 20th century. It's a big deal, and it's focused primarily on tooth decay in children.
All right. And then will those neighborhoods now part of Sugarland eventually need to also switch over to a mix of surface water and groundwater?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, the first one was a good question too. I don't, but they're both. But we will ultimately have to switch at least New Territory over to chloramines, and the plan as of right now is to do that in 2027. That's the way the CIP is laid out now, and that's tied to in 2025. The regulations will change for the amount of groundwater we can use, and the amount of groundwater we can use goes down. And so we will be expanding our surface water plant and running surface water lines to New Territory as of right now, in an attempt to spread out the amount of surface water we're using and increase the amount of surface water using. At that time, they would change in New Territory. All of that, of course, is subject to any sort of change in the regulation. Right now, the regulation says 2025 is when we have to go through that, and we as a city are working very, very diligently to try to justify the potential extension from 2025 out even further.
Okay. And then we have another question. What is the source of our surface water? Of our service water, sorry.
So the surface water itself comes out of Oyster Creek. Oyster Creek is filled. We have a water right that actually gets runoff that goes into Oyster Creek, but the vast majority of our water comes from the Brazos River, is pumped into Oyster Creek west of town at the Shannon Pump Station by Gulf Coast Water Authority, and then comes down Oyster Creek, and we have an intake right there, just north of the Imperial subdivision, just east of Kempner High School. There on Voss is where our plant is.
Okay, and why Sugarland water is so hard that leaves residue?
So the hardness of the water is really, we're kind of at the mercy of the sources of the water, right? Different parts of the state have different hardness. Our groundwater specifically comes from the Evangeline Aquifer. It is harder water. It's not soft water. As far as from a taste and health perspective, it is completely safe. Some people prefer it to be softer and install water softeners, but as far as the source, it comes from the source and is completely healthy.
Okay, I'll give a few more minutes just for more questions, since that was a lot of interesting stuff to cover. In the meantime, since you're talking about water, Brian, where does a mansplainer get his water?
What?
Where does a mansplainer get his water? It's a joke.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
From a well, actually.
That is good. I like
It's
it.
a fun water joke for you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions for Brian. We appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian, for your update. Okay, up next, we have Gabe Levine, our emergency management coordinator. Gabe, do I have you on?
Yes, ma'am. How's it going?
Hey, good. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can take it away.
Cool. So if you can just go to the next slide, what I'd like to chat with you all about today is the individual assistance program. So this is a FEMA administered or a federally administered program that the City Office of Emergency Management facilitates locally during disasters. And there's some changes this year, and we wanted to kind of start getting those out ahead of hurricane season. And I know it's only January, but since this stuff takes a while to explain and get out to everybody, we thought we would start now. So next slide, please. All right, so what is individual assistance? It's a program that goes directly to individuals and households who have losses during a disaster, and it's during a disaster that's been federally declared. So this can come in the form of a couple of different things. So it can be temporary housing, it can be for emergency home repairs if you had some sort of damage. It can be to cover uninsured or underinsured personal property losses. So if your homeowners insurance doesn't cover all of the damage that's occurred, then individual assistance kicks in. This is like that safety net. It also addresses things like medical, dental, and funeral expenses if you have those as a result of the disaster. And then there's a long miscellaneous category of serious disaster-related expenses that can kick in for this as well. Next slide, please. So you're probably wondering how we get this individual assistance, and there's three basic steps. The first one is that we need to have a federal disaster declaration. So the president needs to come down and say there's a disaster in Texas, and Sugarland needs to be named in that. And then the second part, and this is really, really important because there's been some changes in here this year, is that we need to meet the damage thresholds set by the federal government. So there were two big changes this year that are driving an adjustment to that. One is the census came out. So the population for Texas went up, which generally is a good thing. But what that means, because this is a per capita threshold that they calculate, when population goes up, so does our disaster minimum threshold. The other thing that's changed with this is they adjusted the rates. So, previously it was, I don't have the exact numbers, but it was one amount per person. And this year it's more per person, and our population went out. So we got kind of a 1-2 hit with this. So the way that the federal government determines, are we eligible for individual assistance? And we want to know that really early on in the disaster, is the community submits a survey tool called the ISTAT. And we're going to go into the ISTAT in depth here in a second, but it's the individual state of Texas assistance tool, or assessment tool rather. And basically what this does is it's your way as the community to say, here's the damage that we've had. So we have a good idea of, did we meet our minimums? And if so, then that puts a whole bunch of things in place to start getting individual assistance out to the community. So it's a two-part process. We have to do that assessment first, and you all in your neighborhoods and in your residents are really important to doing that. And then the second part is that individual actually submitting to request individual assistance. So if we don't get that assessment done, then we can't actually start issuing individual assistance. But once that does open up, there's 4 different ways that you can get information on it, and you can formally submit to request that individual assistance. The first one is to go to the website on the screen, which is disasterassistance.gov. Another way is to download the FEMA app. The FEMA app has some links in there that allow you to do that. If you have challenges accessing computer systems, then you can call the 1-800 number, which is the 621 FEMA. And if you don't have access to any technology, you can always show up at a disaster assistance center. So these are physical locations that the city emergency management would help facilitate standing up with FEMA volunteers and local volunteers to provide assistance to individuals and homeowners on how to submit for individual assistance and how to complete all the forms and get the financing that you need to get back to normal. Next slide, please. All right, so the ISTAT, we talked about that, the individual state of Texas assessment tool. This is a survey that you fill out that allows you to submit information about what type of damage you have. So this information actually goes to a state database. It's a secure database that's held at the Texas Department of Emergency Management. And we at the city have access to it. So we use it for our planning. We use the information that you submit in our assessment of what how significant the impact is. But it really engages all of you in helping us understand what is the damage that's occurred from an event. So if this was a flooding event or a storm event, as soon as you identify those damages, you can start submitting these surveys. And typically we'll push out this link on social media platforms and via our various communication methods through the communications department and to many of you, but the link remains the same. And this is active information if you want to save it or share it with your neighbors, your HOAs. This is good information to have handy. So when a disaster happens, they will create a specific disaster drop down. So if you were to go to this link today, you would see a list of the current active disasters. So there's Winter Storm Uri, there's Hurricane Nicholas, and a couple others in there that they're still collecting data on. But if we had a new one that popped up and we sustained damages, you would go to the same website, you would select that specific disaster and start entering your information. It does have the option for both English and Spanish. So if you have bilingual folks living in your HOAs and they're more comfortable submitting this information in Spanish, then that's an option. I know there's some long-term plans to build that out and expand the access and functional needs access to this survey, but right now it's just in English and Spanish. You'll enter some basic contact information. So your contact, where your house is at, what the actual impact is. This series of like little radio button type survey questions, a couple fill in the blanks as far as your address and some other things, and then what information you have. And then step 3 is really important with this, is include lots of photos. So the photos of the damage help put it in context and perspective, right? And I know even our internal damage assessors, when they go out, like, well, is this moderate damage or is this major damage? And kind of trying to quantify that in a way that makes sense. So when you provide those photos, it helps the reviewers understand just how bad it is, and then assign some estimated costs associated with those damages, which helps us meet the thresholds, which means that the federal money comes in to help us recover from a disaster. And then you'll hit submit and you're on your way. Next slide. All right, so with all that said, again, individual assistance, it's a program to help individuals, households, renters, and homeowners post-disaster. We have to do 2 things. We have to submit that assessment tool, that ISTAT tool, which I showed you on the previous slide, and then you can submit for actual filings to get that financial assistance. That's my information on the screen. There is a QR code if you want to download my business card, or there's my email and phone number. Happy to come out and chat with HOAs at meetings about emergency management and preparedness type things. But at least for this month's meeting, we wanted to talk about the ISTAT, and I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks.
Okay, so we do have a question for you, Gabe. Who makes the final decision on IAs, the state, county, or city, once ISTATs are submitted?
So the final decision is the federal government. So the state, county, and local entities will request federal assistance, but federal assistance, particularly individual assistance, it hinges upon us meeting the threshold that the federal government has set, and then the president in his disaster declaration allowing us to have that.
Okay, any other questions for Gabe? Sorry, Gabe, I don't have any emergency management jokes.
That's all right.
All right. I think we're good.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabe. Up next on our agenda, we have Ruth Loomer, our city planner long range. Ruth, do I have you on?
Yes, I am here. Good morning.
Great. Hi. All right. I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. I just have a very quick update for you on the Census 2020. So for those of you who were around back with this group in 2020 and 2019, you may remember that you did some work for us. And so we just wanted to kind of follow up with you on how the census efforts went. The census did wrap up their count, nationwide count in the fall of 2020. And then they just released the results of the count in late last year, 2021. So one of the things that we were trying to do was get close to our 2010 self-response rate. And we did get close. We were just a little bit under that 85%. And so we definitely want to say a big thank you to all of you who helped us out there. You know, a lot of the HOAs kind of amplified the message for us, sent out information to your groups. And that was really essential to us having a successful census response. We did end up ranking #1 in Texas for self-response for cities our size, so cities over 100,000, and then we were in the top 10 for our nationwide response. And so we're really proud of that, and just want to say thank you so much again for your help with that. We did get our final population estimate in at the census has estimated us to be at.
Ruth, I have a quick question. Do you need us to move the slides for you?
There's no slides.
Okay, great.
So our final population estimate came back at 111,026. So this is a little bit lower than what our internal estimates had been over the last few years. And so what you're going to see is that the numbers actually will decrease, both on our street signs and then on the website and different areas wherever we distribute that information. And the reason for that is just that there's different methodologies for estimating and collecting that data. And so unfortunately, there's really not a way for us to try and contest that. And so at this point, we're just accepting the census number, and then we're moving forward with making adjustments to our internal processes to see if there's anything that we need to do different in the coming years as we make estimates in between decennial censuses. So again, just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your help. We do feel like it was a success. We're a little disappointed the numbers didn't come out a little bit higher, but I think that we did everything that we needed to do to make it a successful year. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So we don't have any questions about the census yet, but we do have a comment from Mr. Lockwood, who said, "You did a great job, Ruth."
Thank you, Al. Al was on our complete count committee. So he was part of the group that really helped us figure out what our strategy was going to be for getting the word out about the census. And they worked really hard and spent a lot of hours with us. And so we thank you, Al, for your commitment to that.
All right. Any other questions about the census for Ruth? Luckily, again, we're running ahead of schedule, so I'll give people a few more minutes because we have time. Why not? So we did get a question. Does the city have a tabulation of the census counts by different groups available?
By different groups, I'm assuming they mean maybe by age group or by ethnicity. So right now, we don't have all of that information available. The census hasn't released all of the detailed information that will be coming available. Really, right now, what they have released is the information that is necessary for redistricting. And so it's pretty limited, I guess, in the data that's provided. We will be getting more information in the coming months, though, and it will be more detail about, percentages of the total of people that are in certain, age groups, ethnic groups, and things like that. So that we expect to come in the coming months, and we'll release that information as well whenever it becomes available.
Okay, great. I
All
don't see any other questions. Yeah, no, I think we're, oh wait, hold on, one more. Any idea where the undercount was, locations, groups?
It's a great question, and really one we don't have an answer to right now. There's different reasons that there's different reasons we might have gotten different numbers. Interestingly, the interim numbers that we put out each year have been very consistent with the census has a separate program from the decennial census, the participant statistical area. No, it's the, anyway, they do an annual estimate as well, and ours was very similar to theirs. So the thing that changes over time that we can't really track is the persons per household, the number of people that are living in a house. And, we have a pretty good idea of the number of housing units in our city, but we're not knocking on doors and finding out, how many people are living in each home. So it's possible that that persons per household number has declined over the decade. And so we may have been overestimating to an extent. You also have the situation where we are relying on people to provide accurate information when they're completing their census. And it's possible that people intentionally or unintentionally didn't provide accurate information. If somebody is not here legally, they may be more hesitant to put that information on there. If they have anyone in their home that's not here with the right documents, or in some cultures, maybe it's primarily the male head of household that gets counted, and you may count different people differently in other places. And so it's possible that there could be, those could be some of the reasons why our numbers, are so different. But we don't, unfortunately, we don't really know. And until we get that persons per household number from the new persons per household number from the census to be able to compare, well, we won't really, and ultimately we won't really know why, but we will definitely be digging into those numbers a little bit more as we get more of that detailed information I mentioned earlier, so we can try and figure out, the discrepancy.
And Ruth, is it possible for us to say, hey, we don't agree with this number, do something different? Is that possible?
Yeah, I wish there was. So the only, and we did look into that, the only opportunity that we would have is if we felt like their housing counts were off, like the number of houses that they counted. And even if we were to try and kind of contest that, they actually wouldn't go back and change the census number. All that they would do is use a revised housing count for future, things over the next 10 years. And so it wouldn't go back and change our census number. And what we have found is that our housing counts, though they're not exact, they're very, very similar to what the census included. And so we've decided not to go through that process because it's not really going to change anything. And the numbers are so similar that it's not worth the time and effort that it would take to go through that process. But they don't offer, unfortunately, they don't offer any kind of process for contesting the actual census number. Like that's what they come up with, and that's what it is.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions for Ruth. I think we're good.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. And next up, we have Lauren Fair, our principal planner. I see you on, so take it away.
I am here. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lauren Fair. I work to manage development for the city. And so I am here to provide y'all with an update on a proposed development project that is currently going through the public meeting process. The proposed projects for multifamily mixed use development located in the Sugar Creek Triangle area. And that's between US 90A and Highway 59 on Sugar Creek Center Boulevard behind the Comerica building. So I just want to give you an update on where we are in the meeting process. So the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing regarding this item a couple weeks ago on January 11th, where the commission provided a pretty good fair amount of feedback to both the applicant and the developer team and city staff. So currently city staff and the applicant and the developer team are evaluating the feedback that was received from the commission, and we're working to answer their questions and incorporate their feedback into any revised material that may be needed from the team. So the next step in the public meeting process is to hold what is called consideration and action with the Planning Zoning Commission. And this is where the commission has the opportunity to provide their recommendation on the proposed development project to the city council. And once that has occurred, staff will then begin working on a potential future public hearing meeting with the city council, where the public and residents will be able to again come in and speak on the item publicly in front of the city council. We don't have dates projected out for those, but we wanted to just kind of let you all know about it. Several of the HOAs are involved and know about it. So we just kind of wanted to give you all a brief update on where this development project proposal is in the public meeting process. The project webpage is up on the screen here, and I would encourage anyone who's interested to go on there and check it out. It's updated quite regularly with the project proposal information, the public meeting information, how you can join, as well as a link to sign up for email updates regarding the project proposal. And also my contact information is on there on that project webpage at the bottom. And I am certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone may have, either now, obviously, or if you want to shoot me an email or give me a call later. So that's all I have. I just quick update, but happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lauren. I actually put the link to that page in the chat so everyone would have access to it'll be a clickable link. If you guys wanted to click on it and look around, we'll have Lauren sit tight for a few minutes while you guys peruse all the information that they have there. And it's a lot because we just try to keep you guys as informed as possible. So yeah, take a look at it. And luckily we have Lauren right here, so you won't have to send her an email or call. So I'll give you a few minutes to look at that and ask her any questions you may have. I don't see any questions. But again, what Lauren said, her contact information is available on that page. And actually, I will just go ahead and copy and paste it into the chat for you guys as well. And if you guys look through that and you have any questions or you're having problems signing up for email or anything, just feel free to reach out and we're happy to help.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Lauren, we did have one comment, not a question. It says, thank you for all that you guys do for the community.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, I think we're good.
All right. Thank you so much for your update, Lauren.
You're welcome.
We'll see you around. Thank you. All right. So up next, actually, before we all go and I hand it over to our Assistant City Manager, Doug Brinkley, I have a few announcements from Lieutenant John Avara from our fire station number 5. He wanted me to share a few updates with you all. And the first one is they have noticed that there are some trees that are hanging low around Fire Station 5. This time around in January and February are the best times to trim your trees so that the fire engines and ladder trucks and medic units have unhindered access to these neighborhoods during a time when our residents need it the most. Having your address is also very important. Your address visible from the street is also very important to the fire department. This is how they are able to get to you. And so for houses with numbers on the walls, there might be some plants or like trees blocking the view, or some flags perhaps that are like being flown over the number that block the numbers. For houses with numbers on the street, there's cars blocking them sometimes, or like they are covered with mud. And so some numbers are also faded or unreadable. And so that's just something to consider and think about, to try to have those numbers visible at all times so that the fire department can get to you when you need it the most. And then finally, parking on the street. Of course, we do understand that this must be done, but please try to park your cars as close to the curb as possible. As you know, our ladder trucks and fire engines can be very wide, and so they need every bit of space they can get to get by and through our streets. And so, of course, they are very mindful of like not wanting to damage any cars when there's an emergency, or to be slowed down for any blockage in the streets. In cul-de-sacs, if possible, to not park in them at all. Again, because the trucks can be very wide, up to 10 feet wide and up to 40 feet long. If there is a sharp turnaround that they must do, then it becomes problematic sometimes. So just a few updates from them to keep in mind when it comes to your address numbers and your vehicles parked outside. And from me, that's it. Now, I believe we do have Chief Brinkley on. Do I have you on?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. All right. So he will provide us with the wrap up and I will leave you to it.
All right. I can't see my face yet. You see me?
See you. We do see you.
Okay, great. I won't hold you up. So thank you. Thank you. Another great morning. I'm kind of looking over. I got a chance to pop in as some of the speakers were presenting information, but another good quarterly update, and I appreciate all our speakers. I want to open up and see if you guys have any questions. I really don't have a wrap up as far as anything in addition to what was already shared by our speakers today, but are there any other questions that were not answered that I could address for anyone that's on the call this morning?
We did just get a general question in. It says, any city of Sugarland plans for a maker space? We need one.
For a baker space?
A maker space.
I'm not even sure what a maker space is. Enlighten me, please.
I will allow for the person who asked the question to send in some clarification. And
Okay.
while we do that, does anyone else have any other questions?
Was everyone okay with the format? I know this is one of the few times we've done it all online. I think when I first came in this morning, I thought it'd be a typical hybrid. Was this convenient for everybody considering we're still in the extended pandemic phase?
Yeah, great question. Please let us know your thoughts on that.
And I am checking the chat and the Q&A if you guys have anything. Ms. Gosh, this is great. James said it was great. And Texas prescription is Ms. Gosh. Great. Jack, good to see you. Or I can't see you, but I saw your response, Jack. All right. I'm still not sure what a maker space is.
AC and Brinkley, it says that maker spaces are lab, has classes, tools, and space rental for job training, education events.
Oh, okay. I'm going to pass that idea along to EcoDev. It seems like it may fit within their area of expertise to try to incentivize or encourage someone to come in and actually develop something like that. I think it's a great idea, to be honest with you. That's one good thing I do like about our current state in Sugarland right now. We are really trying to think outside the box and being open to new ideas, things we probably wouldn't have considered before. So I'm hoping we'll see a lot of exciting things happen in and around Sugarland, like a makerspace. I know a lot of people talk about food halls. We don't have a food hall that I know of in the immediate area. My wife and I kind of go to Houston a little bit when we get adventurous and try to catch some of the food halls. You really do see some exciting things there. So if that's it, I don't want to hold you up too much. I'm still looking at Q&A and chat. So I did get feedback about the meeting. So as long as we're still in an extended pandemic, we'll explore doing this again like this, or maybe doing a hybrid next time. But I'll leave it up to Jessica and the experts to do that. So, all right, if you guys don't have anything else, I want to say thank you for coming again. Thank you for participating, and look forward to see you guys in the next quarterly HOA update. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We did get a general comment from Jorge, and he just wanted to remind the group, if possible during major storm events, move your cars to the driveways. The streets may pond and cars parked on the streets may flood.
That is a good reminder and tip.
Relaying that to the group. And that's everything from the chat.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
All right, Paulina, you ready?
Yeah, so we are done with our quarterly HOA update meeting. Thank you all so much. We did get great participation from the public HOA reps and neighborhood reps. So we appreciate your time and taking your morning to join us and listen to some of our updates. Of course, again, we will be sharing the slides for this presentation. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at hoa@sugarlandtx.gov for any follow-ups for the meeting or anything else relating to the city HOA. I'll make sure to relay the message to the appropriate person. That's it for me. We don't want to keep you more, but we're giving you back 1 hour of your morning. Thank you so much for being here again. And thank you for all the presenters and to Chief Brinkley for joining us. And that's it for us. You're free to go. Thank you.
Bye.